Inspired by my friend Patty, I'd like to give a little tour of my garden. This is my view out my kitchen window, and these are my chickens digging around in a pile of manure, which is an unlikely place to start a garden tour. Trust me, it gets more beautiful from here. But these chickens love this spot. They love to dig around for bugs and grass seeds and all kinds of good stuff. And I'm hoping that at some point I will be able to spread this on my garden. So this is the start of the fertility of the garden. And plus I get this beautiful view of these chickens doing what chickens do best, which is scratch the ground and find good things to eat. I was really inspired by Joel Salatin's work. Joel Salatin is a farmer in Virginia, and I hope to visit his farm one day. It's in the Shenandoah Valley, about 2 hours from Shannon's place. Oh, thank you, Fabio. You are providing the background music for us. And so, anyways, Joel has a wonderful farm which incorporates livestock, vegetables, pastures, in which the output of one area becomes the input of another. So I am really happy to be able to put this manure to use. I'm very thankful. I mean, how many people can say this? I'm thankful for a neighbor who puts a big pile of poop in my yard. So, but I imagine putting this to really good use this fall. It's evening now, and I saw these chickens out my window back near the manure pile, and I wanted to mention something that I forgot to mention earlier. The name of Joel Salatin's book, it's called The Marvelous Pigness of Pigs. I read it at the beginning of the year, and it was really inspiring to me, and I'd like to think that these chickens are out here experiencing the marvelous chickenness of chickens. They are living their best and happiest life here, doing what they like to do. Okay, so in order to minimize the walking and jostling, I am just going to pan from the manure pile over here past our driveway. This is the south side of our driveway. Some pretty wild flowers that I did not plant, but I do not mow because I just like them. And this is our pear tree, which literally just got planted 10 minutes ago so that I could shoot this video. It is number 7 out of 8 that we've planted. We got 8 dwarf fruit trees a couple of weeks ago, and we've been slowly getting them in the ground. And we chose dwarf fruit trees because they are they fit the size of our property. We have 3 acres, about half of that wooded. We have a lot of big, tall, shade trees, and so, just finding the space for fruit trees was really difficult. So these dwarf trees will get about 10 to 12 feet high, 10 to 12 feet wide, and will yield between 50 and 70 pounds of fruit. And so we're really looking forward to many good years with these trees. We got them from KW Edible Landscapes near Winston-Salem, and Jason came out, just a really lovely person. We spent about 2 hours talking about where to plant these fruit trees, and then also just future use of the land, things that we could plant that would be native, perennial, come back year after year and provide us with some good food for many years to come. I'm going to take about 10 steps forward now from our pear tree to this area, which we affectionately call the swamp. This is land that slopes downward to the creek, and you can probably see the bridge there in the background. So this area is very wet and boggy. We've never been able to plant anything here. We've never really known what to do with it, so you can see we have a brush pile here. When I talked to Jason, he looked at this space and said this would make a perfect pawpaw grove. Pawpaws are a native North Carolina tree, and they produce a fruit that is somewhat tropical, like a banana, pineapple, mango combination. I've never actually tried it, but I'm excited about the idea of finally utilizing this space, making best use of this space. And I'm not trying to amend the land, but trying to find something that fits the land as it is. So we talked about putting mushroom logs out in these shady woods, and maybe some Solomon seal down here closer to the creek where it's really wet. And also, I'm just excited about this being a pawpaw grove. This was Mark's grandfather's land, and we have a small piece of it, and he used to farm this land, and he farmed and grew for his entire life, and so the idea of having a pawpaw grove on our land just makes my heart happy. Doing the quick 180 from the pear tree over to our mulch pile, which this big huge pile of mulch was absolutely free and was delivered to our yard the same day as the fruit trees, which were not. Jason came in the morning, the mulch came in the afternoon. The tree service called me and said they had this for me. I had been on the list for about 3 months, and so they delivered this mulch to me. It was full of all kinds of leaves and was pretty ugly. It still is kind of ugly. I mean, it's got a lot of sticks in it and so forth, but I'm not so interested in this for landscaping purposes as for starting beds. I have been using it on some pathways and around some flowers and things like that, but and around the fruit trees, but mostly I'm thinking about now using this to start beds in places where I want them, and this makes a wonderful base layer that helps the soil, inoculates the soil with all kinds of wonderful powdery fungi and stuff like that, so you can kind of see that there. And then I've also got this pile of sticks over here that I'll do some hugelkultur beds with. The sticks form a really nice base layer for beds to grow potatoes. And also, bonus, moving all this mulch has been really good strength training for me as well. Dang, that's a lot of mulch. Hey, baby girl. Okay, take 2. So this is the Potager garden, I'm now calling it. One of my favorite YouTubers, Jazz from Roots and Refuge Farm, used this term pottage, incorporating beauty into the garden. And so I looked up that term, and it actually comes from the French potager, which is a kitchen garden, a garden that incorporates vegetables, herbs, and flowers. And this is one of my favorite spots in our entire yard. So I'm just going to give you a little tour, but first I'm going to just keep it real here. This right here is a very ugly fence that is across our sidewalk here. This is a temporary fence to keep the chickens out. So this is a reminder that Rome's not built in a day. Eventually we will get an actual gate or fence or something up here, but for now that keeps the chickens out of this area. So I'm going to start with this yarrow right here. This is an oldie but goodie. My mother-in-law started this with me. Yarrow is medicinal, but not this kind. It's pink flower yarrow, but it's just pretty, and normally it's covered with lots of blooms, but the chickens found this in the winter when there wasn't much forage, and they ate a lot of it. So I'm just really happy that it's come back as it has. So, okay, let's see. We are going to start right here with these peas, which are a demonstration of why soil fertility is important. So I have actually 3 patches of peas about this size, and I think I've gotten maybe 10 snow peas. I'm seeing 2 right there, so yay. But I definitely needed to fertilize this spot at the beginning of the season, and I did not. So let's see, let's come around here. And all of these flowers, almost all of these flowers, were bought for, I would say, less than $10 at Lowe's on the clearance rack on the Dead and Dying last fall. So I'm really pleased that all of this came back, with the exception of this beautiful Mexican blanket flower, which my mother bought for me last year when she was here. And I love it. It will come back year after year, and it is absolutely beautiful. She also bought me these cute chickens, so she always likes to put pretty things in my yard. Thank you, Mom. So this is one of my oldest plants. This is lemon balm, and it is a wonderful plant. My mother-in-law gave this to me as well, and it has just spread and done wonderfully. It's already had a haircut this spring. I dried a bunch and put it in honey and to make a lemon flavored honey, which I think will be wonderful. It is antiviral, it is calming and soothing, it's wonderful in teas. I have even, when I've had little bugs bite me out here, I've rubbed it directly onto my skin, and that lemony scent just seems to keep the bugs away. So this is just a wonderful plant, and I have actually given various cuttings to folks too, so it's a giver. So this right here, I'm going to step over the fence here. This right here is stevia, and I planted this last fall. Again, clearance find, and it is a sweetener for tea, so I was really, really happy to see this come back. We'll see how it does. These are 4 o'clocks. These spread like wildfire, and they're beautiful. They get really nice and big and put out this fuchsia colored flower, but you just got to kind of watch them because, you know, like for instance, I mean, I find these all over my garden all spring. So, right, coming around here, this is borage, but it's not borage. So, I was on a garden tour, I bet 3 years ago, and this plant was putting out seed heads, and so I took some seed, and the gentleman told me it was borage, I thought, but I kind of forgot what it was, but I planted it, and it's done great. And I've later realized, no, it's not borage. This is burdock, and burdock is it puts out a nice, it has a nice root, which can be used in tea, soups. It's immune boosting. It's a liver tonic. I've never used it before, but I'm looking forward, now that I know what it is, to actually using it. So this is wild lettuce. It's medicinal too. I just can't bear to cut it down, but at some point I will, because it is not serving a useful purpose. But there it is. And so this is sage. And my sage that was here in the ground last year died, and so I got this again on the clearance rack in the fall and planted it in this pot, and obviously it loves this spot and is doing beautifully. And I will harvest this soon and make some pesto with this. And I've also been using it as a gargle for like a throat gargle, because it's antiviral, and it's also a nice calming ingredient in tea as well. So this is rosemary, which is not very happy, and I will probably move it because I don't think it's getting enough sun. This garden gets morning sun, it gets after midday shade, and then it gets some late afternoon sun in the back of the garden. So I just don't think it's getting enough sun. It needs a better home. So this is my old compost heap, which now we put all our food waste out for the chickens and the chicken run, but I've got a lot of volunteer stuff here, which is pumpkin, which I just found out from one of my favorite permaculture teachers, Maura Gamble, that pumpkin leaves are edible, and they are delicious. And so I've been harvesting this. It doesn't look very good now, but early in the spring I was harvesting the leaves of this pumpkin. So we'll see how it, if it actually produces any pumpkins. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, fine. There's some sunflowers there. These are also some volunteer sunflowers that came up, so looking forward to seeing those bloom. Coming around the back of the garden here, this is neglected, this area, and still waiting for some attention. But this is a French sorrel, which I haven't quite figured out what to do with, but it seems happy. And these are some irises that bloomed pretty and white. I've got some goji berries that were, again, on the clearance rack at Lowe's. I bought 3 of them. I think I paid $2 or $3 each, and they need more sun, and I need to probably trellis them too. So project for another time. There's the other goji berry being covered with a pumpkin, volunteer pumpkin. This is jasmine, which I'm excited about growing up this fence and covering the junk behind me that I'm not going to show you, but doesn't belong to me. So this is yarrow, and this is actually the better medicinal yarrow. It's got white flowers, and I got this from Suki. Suki Roth is an herbalist I've been working with, and I've been going to her garden and weeding for her, and in exchange she gives me plants and she tells me about herbs, and it's just a really good relationship. So I'm looking forward to that yarrow spreading and being beautiful like the other at some point. Yarrow is it's good for, it stops bleeding. So that's my yarrow. And then, of course, again, a demonstration of poor soil fertility, spinach, peas that haven't really produced much, need to be trellised, they're a mess. Okay, and these are 2 more plants that I got from Suki. So this is, let me back up a little bit here. This is nettles on the left, and nettles is wonderful for allergies. It's great in teas, and it'll spread. It will spread. I know I will have to thin and so forth. And then this is comfrey. Last time I went to Suki's garden, she gave me a lot of comfrey that she was harvesting, and I made it into an oil, which I will then make into a salve. It's great for wounds. So I'm really happy to have this in my garden now, and she also gave me this one over here. So I've got 2 comfrey plants. Okay, and she also gave me this, which I'm super excited about. This is a mountain mint, and it's a very aromatic mint. It's almost like Vicks Vapor Rub. It has almost like camphor kind of menthol. It's a beautiful smell, very aromatic, so I'm excited about that. These will look like marigolds, but they are not. They are weeds, and I let them grow last year, and they got really tall, and I thought they're going to flower, and they didn't. They just put a bunch of spiky, nasty things all over my garden, so I will be pulling those this year. So let's see here. Coming around, I'm going to come around and show you I'm going to come back to the front of the garden and start back this way. So these are the 4 o'clocks, and then this is, okay, so I bought the stevia and the echinacea fall clearance last year, and the echinacea is doing beautifully, so it is very happy. And then my oregano is kind of an oldie but goodie. It's been here a long time. And the oregano, I just gave it a haircut as well. I dried it and put it in oil to make like an infused oil. So this is just a wonderful culinary herb and medicinal qualities as well. So these are poppies. Hungarian breadseed poppies. I have tried to plant poppies, goodness, 2 or 3 years and never had success with them. I found these poppies which put out this beautiful purple poppy, and then the pods are like for poppies on the top of bagels or say. So anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing these possibly bloom. And let's see here. So backing up a little bit, this is the basil patch. I've got some thyme. I've got a little tiny purple basil right there that Suki gave me. I've got a minette basil, which is like a miniature basil. I could not resist this. I mean, look at how tiny and pretty that is. Like, it's just so cute. And then I've got 6 different types of basil here. Thanks to Stephanie, she gave me some wonderful seed. And I've got lime basil. I've got a kitchen trio, and look, they're sprouting. Every one of these beds has little tiny basil sprouts in it, so that's exciting. So coming around the back here, I've got 2 society garlics, which these are perennial and they will spread and multiply. So those are great plants. Okay, this is my elderberry, which I bought from Jason last year, and last summer. That's a year-old elderberry. When he came to visit us, I showed him this elderberry. I said, that's elderberry I bought from you last summer. And he said, oh, that's great. Did you only buy 1? You should have bought 2 because they cross-pollinate. And I said, oh, no, I didn't. And then he looks out in the woods and spots the cross-pollinator, a wild elderberry that is close enough to pollinate this elderberry. So yay. So, and then the very last thing right here is the bee balm. This is another one that's been in my garden for a long time, and it puts out beautiful red flowers in the middle of the summer that the bees love. So, and I also found out that it makes a wonderful medicinal tea as well. I've never tried it, so I may try to do that this summer. So that's all. That's my Potager garden, and obviously this is one of my favorite spots in my yard. It's very close to my heart. This was a real healing place for me as I went through a major depression a few years ago, and this was a place where I found a lot of healing and therapy to come out here and make things grow. So, in fact, Mark came home the other night and he found a chair right here in this spot, and he said, "Has somebody been sitting in the garden?" And I said, "Yes, that was me. I was just sitting in the garden, just enjoying this spot and the beauty of it." So that's it. That's the Potager garden.